Hello, Temple of Geek. I am Alexandria Callahan, best known for film, TV, and comic book coverage here at Temple of Geek. But today we're talking books. I have a special guest with me. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and maybe a little bit about your series?
Absolutely. Thank you, Alexandria. My name is S.G. Blaise. I'm a sci-fi fantasy author of the award-winning Lumenian saga that's about a 19-year-old rebel princess who must defeat the Dark God before he finds her.
Amazing. I got to come by the booth a little bit at WonderCon. I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to talk there, but it looked amazing. Like you had a good flow of people through. The booth itself was beautiful. I think I have some photos that we'll be able to put up with this. But can you just tell me what the convention experience was like?
Oh, yes. And I'm sorry I missed you. It was phenomenal. We had a rebel ship booth that was immersive based on the world building of the Lumenian book series. Everyone who stopped by had a chance to go inside that rebel ship, to interact with the character players and watch scenes reenacted from the books. It was so much fun. I had a blast.
That is so cool. I love that. So you mentioned world building. There's a lot that goes into fantasy series as far as creating an immersive world like that. Can you tell me a little bit about the process that you went through in creating your world?
My process of creating the world of the Lumenian series is very long and exhaustive because first I do the structural steps that takes me 3 to 4 months looking into what the story is, what it's going to end, what's happening in the whole series, right? And then I spent another couple of months diving into the world building, what's their daily life is about, what's their origin story, world history, the calendar, holidays, any sports they play, politics, the economics, everything I look into, what their cuisine is like, right? And then I
Yeah.
try to sprinkle all of this into the series at the right time so the readers can feel really immersed in a rich and vivid world building.
I love it. So did you have, before you started writing the series, did you have the entire series planned already, or is this something that you kind of figured out you wanted to expand upon as you went?
I had the series planned out in the beginning, but it's also an organic process that evolves and changes. I knew in 2013 that this is going to be a vast world. We can go past, and explore what happened 100 or 1,000 years ago. We can go forward. We can go parallel, look at each world. So I knew that the world building is going to be about the 7 galaxies. And then as I'm writing the books and it develops, make sure that the series is organically going forward from each book to a conclusion that will make sense for the readers.
As someone who has read too many book series that were clearly not planned ahead of time, I love that. That's very important. Is How close is the series to its conclusion? Are we done? Do you have other things planned? Do you have spin-off books planned? Tell me what's in the works here.
That's a great question, Alexandria. So the series is on book 5 that's coming out this December, and that's out of a 13 book series. And I'm
Oh,
already hinting at the next upcoming series that's going to be 9 books and putting Easter eggs that's going to be the follow-up 7 books. So there's going to be so many stories coming your way. And I'm working on a secret project that we will reveal, crossing fingers, at the San Diego Comic-Con for everyone who stops by. Oh, so exciting.
oh, that's awesome! You're going to be at San Diego. Well, hopefully, I will come say hi because I will be there as well. Wow, that is a lot. As a fellow
I love
writer in
that.
a wildly different medium, I'm a screenwriter, so I will say that my writing goes probably a little bit easier because I don't have to interject things the way that you do. Can you tell me how much because this is your job, right? You spend a certain amount of time a day writing. What's your sit down to work look like?
My daily schedule varies. I have other stuff to do. Sometimes life happens, doctor appointments, the dogs get sick, stuff happens. So I try to be flexible, but I usually have a plan. So depending on where I am in the process, if I'm writing the books, I usually have a goal to do 2 scenes a day. And it could take me 4 hours. It could take me 8 hours. It could take me 2 hours, whatever is that time. That's what I'm committing to. And if I feel like I can keep going because I have that forward momentum, I don't stop. And there are days when I sit down and I don't have that muse singing to me, then I'll just do some world building. I'm looking at my notes. I'll try to do something every day, even if it's not writing per se.
I love that. That's great. So you've been writing this series for quite a while. Do you have a particular character that you are attached to or that you see yourself in? Like, do you have a favorite character in your own series?
Alexandria, I love all the characters. I'm always attached most to the current book's hero. Last year that was Glenna. This year it's back to Lila. And I love my bad guys, so-called bad guys, the opponents, because they force our hero to go out of their comfort zone, to face certain misconceptions about themselves, which allows them to grow and become a better person. So I love them all, and I love seeing how they grow. In book 5, we're diving into, I believe, 8 or 10 point of views. So we get to see the inner workings of a lot of characters that before you would not sure why they were doing things, but now
Yeah.
you get to see their deeper thoughts.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh God, I had a question that popped into my head that just went away. When you're, so many fantasy series now are being turned into TV shows, movies, things like that. Have you thought about any possible adaptations, or is this something that you want to stay on the page?
Oh, I would love this series, Alexandria, to be turned into every medium possible. TV shows, movies, web cartoons, animated series, graphic novels. I'm very open to this.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I just think a lot of people are visual, and I think that and just seeing some of the imagery in your series, I think it would make an amazing, definitely an amazing comic book, but surely an amazing TV show.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
how did this idea start? Like you said the first book came out in 2013. So obviously you were writing before that. How did it pop into your head? How did this idea come to life?
Alexandria, this idea started with a dream back in 2012 when my family and I were on a cross country European road trip. I woke up, I believe, in Austria, jet lagged, and I had this idea, this burning idea I had to write down. And that was the beginning of the Last Lumenian series. I spent 6 or 7 years just rewriting the story over and over, learning how to tell a story, polishing Lila's story until it was ready to be published in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, which was a crazy thing to do because there were no
Yeah.
events. We're very limited with interacting with our readers. So I feel like we lost 3 or 4 years right there. But it was, I think now it's an 11 or 12 years of writing journey that every time something happens, I'm always surprised and I love where it's going.
Was this your first published book?
The Last Lumenian was the first published book and the beginning of this 13 book series. So it had a lot of jobs to take care of, setting up the universe, setting up the main arc of the story, but also be a standalone book that when you read it, you know that the story wraps up, although each book builds on each other.
That's crazy to have your first, like your debut novel published and you have a series now. That's awesome. You're the dream. That's the
Thank
dream
you.
for a lot of writers.
It
That's so great.
is.
Now, for the most part, writers tend to take inspiration from other things that they love or that they enjoy reading and absorbing. Do you have any like works of science fiction or fantasy that you take inspiration from, or that just inspire you to write?
Oh, my inspiration comes from many places. Growing up during the second half of Soviet oppression, Hollywood movies were largely forbidden. My dad rebelled against this by smuggling in these movies, not for profit, but to translate them using his own voice to dub them, so his children could watch these movies like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Terminator,
Oh,
Rocky, The Last Starfighter. I mean, there are so many of these unbelievable sci-fi fantasy stories and action adventure stories that was allowing my imagination to broaden when others were not able to watch this. So it was in secret. He did risk his life. What an amazing, effect it had on me.
yeah, that's awesome. And I bet he's so proud that his influence did have such an impact on you and the
I
outcome
hope
of
he
your
is. He passed away when I was 13 years old. He didn't have a chance to see this bloom into this amazing journey, but I hope he's watching from heaven.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you said something that I want to go back to when you're talking about the process of writing the first book and how long it took you to kind of write and revise and hone in on the story. I know it was your debut novel, but have you always been a writer, or is this something that was new to you just because this idea came into your head?
Alexandria, I think I was always meant to be a writer. And my first inkling came when I was 9 years old and I had a nightmare. I think dreams play a very important role in my life. And it was so scary. I grabbed hold of it and I became the hero of this nightmare, saving my brother from this crab spider creature. And I had to write it down. And when I wrote it down, I knew I had to read it to someone. So going to school, it was the obvious audience, talk about captive audience. And when I read it to them, they laughed, they clapped. It was such an amazing experience. I knew I was hooked at that moment.
That's awesome. It does definitely sound like this is the career path that was meant for you in a lot of ways. That's excellent. I'm so excited. So you said the next book comes out in December. So
That's correct.
where can people find the series up till now if they want to just binge it and catch up for you before this next book comes out?
I hope they do binge read it. The series is available on Amazon, Google Play. Oh my gosh, my tongue. Google Play and Apple Books and the usual suspects. We have a website, sgblaze.com, where you can sign up for a newsletter. You can check out characters. We have these amazing character cards. We have interactive maps. You get to see where we're going next by, reading it in the newsletter, which is only once a month. We're also on social media, Instagram, SG Blaze Official. We're on X, SG Blaze Author. And we have YouTube, TikTok. And I'm pretty sure I mixed up the two. So just bear with me. I'm terrible with these things.
That's okay. I'm sure if people just Google your name, everything will pop up for them. Wow, it was so nice talking to you. I am personally very excited to get this series and read it. Hopefully by the time I see you at Comic Con, I will have at least a few of these books under my belt and we can talk a little bit more in depth about the series and I can prod you for information about the fifth book. But thank you. This was great. Again, I'm Alexandria Callahan. You guys know you can find me on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. And then, of course, on the website of Temple of Geek.